Do, do. Can it be my... Welcome back to the Ultimate Mixdown. Today, I'm going to show you a very powerful and versatile tool in Reaper known as the Razor Edit. Whether you're cutting and rearranging in production or you're applying effects during mixing, this tool will be a go-to for you for sure. By the end of the video, you'll know the essentials of the Razor Edit tool, plus some pro tips. But first, we have to ask the question, what is Razor Edit? Well, Razor Edit is a very fast and flexible way to manipulate sections of your audio or MIDI items. And unlike traditional editing tools, you can use Razor Edit to grab multiple parts of different tracks, and you can move them together, copy them together, time stretch them, and even apply effects all in a very non-destructive way. Let's dive right in. All right, two things before we get started. One, you can get my free 7 Steps to a Pro Level Mix PDF down in the description below. And then two, this is a Reaper specific tool. So if you're using a different DAW, this isn't going to apply to you very much. So typical editing tools, you can go and select areas and you can split with the S key, right? And then you can click and drag. Okay, you can do that across multiple tracks if you marquee, or if you select multiple tracks and you click a point, it'll basically split along this line right here. Okay, so you can do that across these two tracks, and then you can click this one, and then drag it. Okay, so that you can move both of those. But there's an even easier way to do things. To use Razor Edit, you basically hold Option or Alt on the keyboard, and then you right-click Marquee Select. Okay, so when you Alt or Option click and right drag, you can see that the mouse pointer changes to a razor. That lets you know that you're in Razor Edit mode. And you can click and drag that from there and move it. So no more split, then click and drag. You just do Razor Edit and click and drag. You can adjust these by going in and out. So you can adjust the boundaries of your Razor Edit and then click and drag. If you want to copy instead of cutting, you hold the Command or Control key and it creates a copy, and you can move that along. And then you can also do things where you can ignore the snap by holding the Shift key. So if I'm copying this and I don't want it to snap exactly to the grid, holding Shift will allow you basically to circumvent the snap. Now, already we're saving clicks, and that's huge because editing can get really cumbersome really fast, and it can kind of kill your motivation if you have to do lots of splits, lots of cuts, lots of fades, and all that good stuff. So on top of that, we can do these manipulations across multiple tracks. So I have 2 very tightly recorded electric guitar tracks here. If I want to manipulate them both together, or if I want to copy a section of them together, I can hold Option or Alt, and then I can right click and drag across one, and then just pull down across the tracks. I could even pull the bass too, right? And the associated automations with it. So now you can see where this becomes useful with an entire song arrangement. All of a sudden I want to create a third verse. Well, if I only have 1 verse and 2 verses here, I can just take all of this stuff, I can hold Command, and I can copy it all to wherever that third verse needs to go. Okay, so extremely powerful when you're doing arrangement, especially across tracks. So now here's where things get really cool. You can select multiple sections of a track to move at once or to copy at once. You can hold Alt or Option, right click and drag, okay? And then you can go over to the next section that you need, hold Shift, right click and drag again, and again, and again. And then you can click and drag and move all of those sections together. Okay, or Command or Control to copy all those sections together. That's extremely powerful. Now to one-up that, you can also do it across multiple tracks. So again, holding Option or Alt, Shift again, now you can right click and drag on another track. Different sections than the ones that you had in the previous track. And you can do that across every track. You can even do it across automation lanes. Now watch as I click and drag. All of these pieces move at once. Now, if you selected multiple areas across different tracks, but you need to adjust the selections on any of those, you just go to the handle and click and drag. Okay, I can have this to include the same guitar part as before, but also extend this guitar even further. Maybe the bass needs to be the same length, and I just made a mistake there. Okay, so this is very versatile. Another really cool thing with Razor Edit is you can do very fast time manipulations. So you can do time stretching by selecting your area and then holding Alt or Option on the edge, and you can bring it in to speed things up, or you can pull it out to stretch things along. So very quick ways to time stretch different sections of the song. So if I want to time stretch here and time stretch over here, again, select the area with your razor edit, hold Option or Alt, and drag in and out. Okay, so this is all great for arrangement, but then automation is another area where razor edit really shines. So I'm going to go down here. We have a couple volume envelopes for the guitar. I'm going to just draw in some notes. Maybe we want it to be quiet and get louder here. Okay, draw in the same notes, or I could have copy pasted it over. Doesn't matter. And I'll draw some stuff over here too. Maybe go down at the end. Now with razor editing, again, Option or Alt, right click and drag, and you can select those automation points. And you can also use Shift and get the ones below too. Right? You can do it all at once by just dragging across the track. Now keep in mind, this is also going to get the audio. So if you want the audio and the audio automation points, which makes sense because those automation points are applicable to the audio or the MIDI that you've had there. And then you can move all that stuff at once. You can copy all that stuff at once. You can time stretch all that stuff at once. You're even time stretching your automation points. Now we can use the Alt or Option key to ignore the automation envelope that we're using. Now we're getting into some really cool stuff. So I have volume envelopes. Okay, that's great. I can use my razor edit here, and I can basically bring this automation anywhere I want across the volume envelope of any track. But what if I wanted to bring that automation to, say, an EQ parameter? Maybe as the volume is increasing, I also want to open up my EQ. So I start with a very narrow band and I want to open up the EQ so that you have all these frequencies coming through while the volume is increasing. So I'll just add another quick automation lane. I'm just going to bring in the pan because that's a very quick keyboard shortcut. But if I were to razor select this like it is right now and I click and drag, it will not go to the pan. It'll go right down to the volume envelope of the track below it. But if I hold the Option or Alt key, now I can bring that to the pan. So I just jumped across envelopes and brought those automation points from volume to panning. Extremely powerful stuff. And you can get really creative with this. This is why I love Reaper. And then we can select all of this stuff and manipulate it as necessary. Okay, we can move it to different parts of the track, but more likely than not, also going to want to move it with the track. So this is razor edit in isolation, but another great thing about using razor edit is when you combine it with other tools like ripple editing. So let's say you have a vocal, like something for a podcast, where you just want to cut out the dead space in between and you want the words to flow naturally. Then you can pull that vocal in. You can turn ripple editing on. So it's Option P on a Mac, and I believe it would be Alt P on a PC. And you can turn that on, and there's two ways to turn it on. You can turn it on per track. So the first time you do that Option P, it's turning ripple editing on per track. And you can see up here, it's indicating ripple editing is on. And then if I do that Option P again, it'll apply it to all tracks. Okay, so we're going to use per track for this. And if I want to apply ripple editing where I'm going to cut out this dead space and have these vocals nice and lined up for a good flow, I'm going to hold Option, right click and drag. Adjust the boundaries as necessary, using Shift to ignore the snap if you want to do that, and then delete. And you can see that that ripple edit only applied to this one track, right? So I'm just going to go through, adjust the boundaries as necessary. Okay, and I can do the same thing here. All right. And that's it, cutting out all the dead space. So instead of split, split, delete, drag it in, split, split, delete, drag it in, now we're using select, delete, and it automatically butts it up together very nicely. Now, if you wanted to apply ripple editing across to all tracks, you simply press Option or Alt P again. Then you can select the area on one track, and then when you click delete, all the tracks, all the surrounding tracks will have the exact same edit. Let me show you that down here since it can be a little more visible. Okay, so I select that area. All the tracks across the entire project just had that section taken out. Okay, and the ripple editing brought it forward so that there's no dead space in between. So now the last thing I want to show you are the preferences. So Command comma on a Mac. And we'll go down all the way down to editing behavior, mouse modifiers. Go to context, razor edit area. Now these are all the mouse modifiers that I showed you earlier that you used to move, copy, move ignoring the envelope, right? So across pan and volume and basically any automation envelope, move ignoring the snap or copy ignoring the snap. So you have all of these right here and we walk through them, but you can change them to whatever you want them to be. So you can double click and then you can change it to whatever action you want that modifier to be. And not only do you have those mouse modifiers ready to go, but you can customize it even further to make it your own. Again, one of the best things about Reaper is the customization. So that's ripple editing in a nutshell. I urge you to get out there and use this today. Start playing around with it, master it. It's going to speed up your workflow so much. Again, I want to remind you to get that 7 steps to a pro level mix PDF in the description below. Thanks again for joining the Ultimate Mixdown. I'll see you in the next video. Thought it was everything. I'm spinning. Ooh, I'm spinning. How quick the sun can drop away.